they're after a dream. They don't recognize the risk because they don't know about it. The risk for them is not achieving a dream.
Despacio, despacio.
His name is Kike, and he is about to take a journey that'll demand all the strength, stamina, and courage he has. He'll leave behind his home in Honduras for an uncertain future 3,000 dangerous miles away, in a place they call El Norte. 11 of Kike's relatives live under one hot tin roof. His mother, common-law wife, his sister. They're a close family, but desperately poor. Kike's the favorite uncle, and with an aging father, he'll soon be the main breadwinner too. Not only for his own wife and son, but everyone.
Quiero ver más superada a mi familia, pues. Cada día se pone peor la cosa. Si no alcanza el salario, pues, para sostener la familia. Eso amerita uno de los riesgos que yo tomo salir bien y que quiero tener mi familia un poco mejor. Y yo digo que si me regresan, yo me vuelvo a aventar de ahí nomás. No pienso regresar aquí. No, que ahí nomás me tengo que ir. Porque es algo que yo voy a hacer y que tengo que hacerlo, pues. ¿Me entiendes?
It's the kind of willpower journalist Jorge Flores was looking for when we asked him to find someone to take us along on that dangerous trip.
My friend said, look no further, I have your man, Quique, Don Chilo's son, is going to El Norte, up north. He's a special young man. Yeah, I think he will make it. I think he will make it.
Kike had intended to travel alone, but when his neighborhood friends heard he was leaving, they decided to go too. There's 22-year-old Danielle, a garbage collector turned taxi driver. 27-year-old Chacon, who sells vegetables to support his 6 kids. And 20-year-old Hébert, Kike's best friend, who's had to work ever since his father abandoned the family when he was just a kid. But Kike's the one in charge. They'll leave as soon as he collects some money owing from his last job in a warehouse. Only $20, but here, that's a week's pay.
Él viaja porque la verdad las cosas que él nos quiere ayudar. Si Dios lo permite, él llega allá, pues dice que él me va a ayudar bastante. Mi papá dice que pasa bien enfermo, dice, vos, dice, ya ustedes ya van para viejos, dice, yo quiero que ustedes, dice, vivan con él me dice que no me preocupe, pero usted bien sabe que uno es más.
Tomorrow, the adventure of a lifetime. Tonight, a family farewell. Everyone here knows that even if Kike is one of the lucky ones to reach North America, they'll never be able to join him. At best, he likely won't return home for 2 or 3 years, maybe more.
Señor Celestial, en esta noche, Padre, te venimos representando a estos muchachos, Señor, que en esta noche han escuchado un poco de tu palabra.
At worst, they try not to think about it. Many young men who leave for El Norte never come home again. Now it's almost time to go, and to say goodbye to his little boy, 3-year-old Angel. How long will it be before they see each other again? Kike's mother and wife haven't been getting much sleep. with the big day about to arrive. It's easier for everyone that he'll be with his best friend, Hébert, who's always in a good mood. They'll be traveling light, just a change of clothes and a piece of paper with the names of relatives in El Norte.
Yo aquí tengo el número de Pichingo y vamos a llamar cualquier rato.
¿Y este es qué otro?
Este
¿Qué lado es este?
es Virginia.
Quique has relatives in El Norte too, and they've promised to help when the time comes.
Ya llevamos los 5 quetzales. Los primeros 5 quetzales. Yo quiero que lo vean otra vez.
Llorando. Llegaron, ve.
Te está llorando, mami. Está llorando.
¿Papá vio?
Como hermano.
Ahead are police, soldiers, and gangs determined to stop them. They could be on the road for weeks. Together, they've got less than $100.
No debe haber tristeza. Como le digo, siempre ha habido fe de que uno va a regresar allá y así va a ser. Que vamos a regresar allá.
With hundreds of kilometers to the first border between Honduras and Guatemala, they've spent some of their precious cash on bus tickets. Eventually, they'll have to depend on more surreptitious transportation. But already, there are occasional hints of the perils that lurk up the road. Tomorrow, they'll leave Honduras behind. The question is, for how long? At the checkpoint into Guatemala, they show their passports. It's the first of at least 3 borders they'll have to cross, and the last they can cross legally. The Guatemalans know travelers like Quique have their sights set much farther north.
¿Qué es el norte para mí? Que paga bien el dólar también de allá de Canadá. Los trabajos cerrados bajo techo. Trabaja bien, dice que. Yo creo que hay bastante trabajo en Canadá.
They all have the same dream, to work night and day if they have to send money back home to their impoverished families in Honduras. Tomorrow, the hard part begins, when they reach the border with Mexico and its southernmost state, Chiapas. They call this notorious frontier El Bestio, the beast. A no man's land with no one to trust.
It's wild there. It's a wild country. There is no law in the borders. It's common to hear stories of the police in Guatemala, the police in Mexico, just preying on these people that are near the border because that's where they have the most money. They rob everything of value that they carry.
And then there are the gangs, the 18th Street Gang and the Mara Salvatrucha. Cold-blooded and absolutely ruthless. And no more inviting, the Mexican police.
The robbers and police are almost one and the same, with the difference that the police can deport you and the robbers can kill you.
It is such a menacing place that Kike and the others have decided to bide their time on the Guatemalan side of the river that forms the border with Mexico. While they figure out how to make their crossing and where, they've rented a room a few hundred yards away. Chacon, the class clown, is entertaining them. And there are some new faces tonight. 4 others from Honduras whom they met on the bus. In a town like this, there's safety in numbers. So the gang of 4 has become the gang of 8. It rains all night, a torrential downpour, and that's a big problem. In a few hours, Kike and the others will cross the river into Mexico. But the water level is rising by the minute, and not all of them know how to swim.
We expected the river to be just raging brown water. Who can swim and who cannot swim? Everything happened in minutes.
Chacon is still smiling, but he's one of the guys who can't swim, not even the dog paddle.
¿Y qué onda, huevón? Entró miedo, pero dije que ya estoy metido en la onda, tengo que apretarla, pues ya, que Dios me ayude.
At 5 a.m., there's no turning back. Kike is well aware the river ahead is not only the first real barrier on their trip north, but it could be the last. Many who try to cross are swept away by the current and drowned. They rendezvous with a local man, a smuggler, the one in the blue hat. Today, the river's especially dangerous. But for a few dollars, he might be able to find them a safer spot downriver. The smuggler says it should be safe to cross here, but Kike is not convinced. The water is much higher than they expected, and it's still rising. So Kike and Hébert will check it out first, then decide if it's safe enough for the ones who can't swim. The rocks are slippery, the current strong, but Kike gives the green light. Finally, all of them safely on the opposite bank. They're not only on Mexican soil for the first time, they are also now illegal immigrants. From this point on, wherever they go, whatever they do, they'll be running from the law. There are many different routes to El Norte, but one of the most extraordinary was taken by a youngster still in his teens who managed to make his way from Honduras through Central America and Mexico, then across the U.S., hitchhiking and riding the rails until he finally found himself in the Kootenay Mountains, British Columbia. His name, Edwin Rodales.
I didn't know where Canada was. I knew it wasn't gonna be too hard to find. Then I crossed the border. It's like coming to a new world.
After a journey of 4,000 miles, the kid from Honduras had somehow emerged in Nelson, British Columbia. Edwin Rodales was just 17. He had no money, but he had managed to teach himself English, and he was determined to get more education. Nelson is an 8-hour drive east of Vancouver, a small town with a big heart. And what happened here can only be described as amazing. It all started at the local high school, where Edwin managed to enroll himself for classes, then told his incredible story to one of his teachers.
He was working in a shoe factory, making just pennies. I mean, nothing that could actually get him anywhere. It was a desperate life, and for some reason he dreamed that it could be different.
Stand up, come aside.
Carl Machado, himself a former refugee from Uganda, would become Edwin's mentor, a friend and advocate for a young man who'd been destined to a life of poverty back in Honduras.
The social structure was set up, and he was in a social class that it was very difficult for him to get higher education. It was hard for him to go to school because he had to support his family. He was sort of brave and naive when he took on this dream.
Alors, prenez de grandes respirations. C'est pas dans le local où vous êtes habitué.
You can imagine the culture shock. But the new kid fit right in. Classmates thought he was intriguing. And so did his French teacher, Mrs. Pulsifer.
I helped him with the language. In fact, I was on his case a lot about quit saying man. You have to speak clearly. People have to understand you. And if you want to become Canadian, then you speak English as clearly as you can.
Nancy Pulsifer became his unofficial guardian and fairy godmother. And she arranged a cozy place for Edwin to stay. Her place.
Well, the first Christmas he was here, I don't think he'd ever had a Christmas like that because he had tons of gifts and we had the big meal and too much food and the usual thing. I put up the big Christmas tree and I told my family in Kapuskasing, I've got someone living here, and I didn't say, could you send gifts right away? Well, what size is he? What does he like? There's boxes, parcels arriving in the mail, and it got to be a big joke because we'd open the boxes and I got excited too, and there'd be nothing for me, or there'd just be one little parcel for me and it'd be Edwin, 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 Edwin.
It was every Honduran kid's fantasy of life in El Norte. The boy who'd suddenly appeared in Nelson had a new home, though none of his classmates had any idea who he really was. Not an exchange student, an illegal alien.
They didn't talk about my trip or my life. But I just wanted to keep it to myself, because compared to them, it wouldn't be not even close to the life I lived before. So they couldn't relate to me. And so I thought, oh, then why should I tell them if they won't understand? But I just wanted to keep it a secret.
While Edwin Rodales kept his secret in Nelson, BC, thousands of other young Central Americans were risking their lives to follow in his footsteps, hoping to ride the rails the entire length of Mexico.
The thing that pulls at your heart is when you see these kids, and it's not one, it's hundreds. They're not looking to stop, they're not looking to steal. They want to keep moving, following their dreams.
Ed Palmer is a transplanted American who runs the railway in this forgotten corner of Mexico. There are no passenger trains on this line, only freight with a remarkable human cargo.
There are so many every day that are trying to move north, trying to move to a better world. The most impressive thing that you see in this whole operation is the flow of humanity. It's not one person, it's all of them. They have no doubt in where they're going. They're going to the north, they're going to the States, they're going to Canada, and they're going to make it. They have no doubts.
Kike and his friends have made it this far too. They'd crossed the river into Mexico the previous day, then managed to elude police patrols by slogging 12 miles through the jungle. But the cops are never far away. And lurking around the station is especially risky, because the police are always patrolling here. And backpacks are a dead giveaway. Kike and the others need a train. There's usually one freight a day heading north. It may not look sinister, but this train has a fearsome reputation among the migrants. It's known as El Tren de la Muerte, the train of death. Ed Palmer has seen it time and again.
To be here on a daily basis and experience what happens when the train leaves, it's a free-for-all. People come running out of the shadows, a lot of confusion. It looks simple, but it's extremely dangerous to jump on a train. As the train picks up speed, as the tail of the train is leaving out of the yard, people get more frantic. They want to get on the train, they don't want to miss it. These people are running out of the banana fields in the dark, tripping over the ties and the railroad materials. It's a nightmare. People lose their lives on a regular basis. They lose limbs. Anything from losing a foot to being cut in half.
In the past 10 years, this shelter has treated an astounding number of people. More than 3,000 victims of that train of death. Martinez Hernandez is one of them.
Yo me quise agarrar el tren, iba en marcha, el tren me jaló, pues me voló los pies. Pero esto para mí es duro porque después de tener yo mis pies, tener que quedar en una silla de ruedas, pues, es para poco.
The mother he had hoped to support from El Norte must now care for him.
No deseo ni acordarme. No deseo ni acordarme lo duro que sentí el golpe de niño. Yo tengo la fe que, aunque sea que pueda andar en la casa, si Dios proporciona la idea de volverlo a hacer caminar, eso no es igual.
Meanwhile, back at the station, it's been raining for hours. Everything's soaking. Conditions couldn't be more dangerous for rail hopping. It's so easy to slip and fall when the rail cars are wet and your shoes are wet. A few years ago, Hébert tried to grab onto a moving train in the rain. He slipped and was almost dragged under the wheels.
Me monté ya al tren. Después cuando lo quise agarrar, ahí sí me caí. El tren es el único temor para agarrarlo, ¿no? Peligroso porque mucha gente ha palmado ya.
Kike's been here before too. At the tender age of 15, he made his first attempt to reach El Norte by riding the rails. He made it all the way to the U.S. border before he was caught and sent back. That was 7 years ago. This time, Kike's going for broke. There are no cops around, which means Kike and the others can hop on the train while it's still in the station before it picks up speed. Most accidents happen when the kids are fleeing the police. But somewhere up the tracks, the police are waiting. Within 24 hours, many of them will be behind bars. Every year, at least 50,000 young people from Central America ride the rails in a desperate attempt to reach the U.S. and Canada.
Ya con el mío tengo 3 veces. No llegamos ahí, no llevo 2 veces. Imagínate. Apuesto que cuando yo vine ayer, qué operativo más cabrón.
Now, the Americans want to shut the pipeline down. Washington is putting pressure on Mexico to intercept the trains before they reach the U.S. border. The Mexican police and army have been given a free hand to do it. kids are beaten, robbed, and worse, according to hundreds of eyewitness reports.
Boom, boom, cada quien nos guindamos y... Solo, no, porque ya usted ha arrancado el tren, no se suben ellos. Pero pum, 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 los pijazos, se escucha, ¿me entiendes? Los vergazos.
On the trains, they know the patrols are out there and what could happen to them. Whenever the train slows down, everyone on board is ready to jump.
Dale, pues, al baño, todos. Abajo todos. Abajo todos. Todos para abajo.
It's the moment every migrant fears most, trapped with no place to run. For them, the dream of El Norte is over, at least for now. But many will keep on trying to reach the U.S. border 5, 6, even 10 times. So were Kike and the others captured? Did they escape? We have no way of knowing. All we can do is head to the next station on the line and see if they show up. The fortunate few who do manage to escape the police try to get back on the train as it heads north again. It's a mixed blessing, because ahead lies an even greater danger, not just deportation, but possibly death. This is the territory of the Mara Salvatrucha, the most feared gang in all of Latin America, who see the trains as their turf.
Andan muy armados, ¿no? Con machete, buenos calibres, pistola, Uzi.
They go around with knives or big machetes, taking people's money for drugs or who knows, you know? They're just bad guys. They throw people off the train. If you don't have money, they'll kill you. It's real bad. But it's a risk we take, you know, trying to get to America.
It is Sunday morning, and a mariachi band has appeared on the main street of Tonala, a small town in the Mexican province of Chiapas, where we're waiting for Kike and his friends to arrive. We haven't seen them for almost 24 hours now. Honduran journalist Jorge Flores.
What could have happened to Kike? He could be hurt from a robber who pushed him from the train. He could be in a holding cell, ready to be deported back to the Guatemalan border.
But then, suddenly, amazingly, there they are, perched on the side of a rail car. Kike and his 3 friends, Chacon, Daniel, and Hébert. In one piece, but none of them smiling. That evaded the police, but not the gang.
Llegaron ahí con machete, la mara salvatrucha, todo el mundo ahí azorrado, pues.
Todos nos quitaron el dinero. Poníamos como 35. El dinero que traían, lo que ocupábamos para comer.
They'd started out with just $100. Now they've got nothing. But there's no time to waste. Kike has to find water to fill up their empty bottles before the train pulls out again, which could be any minute. The police look right at us, then keep driving. Mission accomplished. But Kike has a warning for our cameraman. Don't get back on the train.
Llamaría mucho la atención a las cámaras a los ladrones. Rolling. Okay. No subirse al tren porque hay ratas con machete. Ladrones que te pueden tirar del tren. Si te subes con la cámara te la quitan, todo te van a quitar.
As they head north again, there's no sign of the 4 others from Honduras who'd crossed the border with them. They were becoming pals, but Kike has no intention of waiting.
He would wait for nobody, not even his friends. He told his friends that if they got separated, they would meet someplace else. He would not wait for anybody.
Losing traveling companions is one thing. Losing money, far worse. Now, if Kike and his friends are caught by the police or the gangs, they've got nothing with which to bargain for their freedom or their lives. What's more, they know it's against the law in Mexico for anyone to offer help to the migrants, however badly they need it. And at the next stop, they won't even be able to beg for food. There's only enough time to jump from this train and run to the next, the one leaving for Mexico City, right now. With more than 2,000 miles yet to go, the road to El Norte is looking very bleak. But just when they need it most, just up the tracks, there'll be a small miracle. In their own way, these people are rebels, known for kindness and generosity to strangers, whatever the law might say.
Bueno, en las noticias ya hemos escuchado que van a castigar a las personas que estén ayudando a los migrantes. La señora esa que le decimos que le cobraron 10,000 pesos de multa por ayudarlos. Y eso decimos a nosotros si nos llevan, ¿de dónde agarramos 10,000 pesos para que nos saquen?
They're just poor villagers from the Mexican state of Veracruz, without much more than the kids on the approaching train. But what they have, they're willing to share.
Se van durmiendo ahí sentados y nos da miedo que se vayan a caer del tren. Vienen con hambre porque luego gritan agua, agua.
Every day when the train comes through, there they are, defying the law, helping people who are very much like them.
Pues ellos llevan la ilusión de ganar un centavo más para mandar a su casa, ¿no? Porque dicen que de todos los que pasan, pocos son los que llegan a cruzar. Y pues uno dice, pues ojalá y Dios los acompañe y lleguen.
But it won't be long before the kindness of strangers becomes harsh reality again. Soon the gangs will return, and this time they'll target the most vulnerable people on board, the women. These women take an even greater risk to reach the U.S. They know no one can protect them against men with submachine guns. Chacon witnessed a chilling scene, a gang rape, then something far worse. Another woman fought back when the gang tried to rape her, and that sealed her fate.
Eso fue muy triste para mí porque vivirlo y verlo, sentir como gritó aquel muchacho en aquel instante, un grito de agonía y morirse en el aire. No tenía otra esperanza para que quedar deshecha en las piedras o en el río. Pero sin asco, como que tiraban un trapo viejo o una lata de basura.
Now they're all trying to live in the shadows, keeping out of sight, begging for food only when it looks safe to get off the train, but always hunted by the police. And far to the north, the authorities in Canada are stalking Edwin Rodales. The teenager from Honduras was living quietly in Nelson, BC, where even his classmates didn't know he was an illegal immigrant. But the Canadian government did. Edwin got a letter from Ottawa. His worst fears were finally coming true.
Here's how it's going to work. I was teaching my By-12 class, and he came in the back and he said, well, I have to go home. I'm being deported.
Mr. Machado announced to the class that Edwin was facing deportation. And everyone, a silence, hush. Because nobody knew that he wasn't just here for a visit or that he wasn't already a Canadian citizen. I had always assumed he was an exchange student until his story came out.
And what a story it was. Their quiet, unassuming friend had been chased by Mexican soldiers and police, held at gunpoint by gangs, jailed, begged for food, walked hundreds of miles.
I walked so much. I had blisters all over my foot. I couldn't walk, so we had to stop for a few days, so to get, physical recovery.
And he kept right on walking over the border into Texas, then hitchhiked across the U.S. and made his way to Canada, eventually to Nelson, where an uncle lived. He had proven to be a good student and was on the verge of graduating from grade 12. But when Edwin applied to be a refugee in Canada, he was turned down flat. In a matter of days, he would have to get on the bus to Vancouver to turn himself over to the immigration department.
He's fought through everything, going across borders in the jungle, trusting people he didn't even know, having no food, being sent to jail. But in this situation, the most hardest thing for him was that it was out of his control, and he couldn't do anything about it.
But before he left, something remarkable started to happen in Nelson. Edwin was becoming a movement.
Yeah, I was there. I was the designated photographer for the yearbook. Everyone liked him. He just had this friendly kind of warmth that just beams off of him. Whenever you talk to him, he always has his little smile and his head down, and I don't know. He's just really friendly, and everyone likes him.
When we're faced with challenges, we can always think of you.
At first it was okay. People were saying, bye, Edwin, come back. But one of the girls wrote a song for him, and it was just this big rush of hope.
Hold on to the strength we believe.
By the time he was about to load the bus, everyone's eyes were going red, and people were trying to hold it back. But, the teachers that were there were starting to cry. Everyone just had tears welling in their eyes. And, of course, Edwin did too.
And back in Mexico, Kike's luck is about to run out as well. After 10 days on the road, they're still a few hundred miles south of Mexico City. Exhausted, they find a place to sleep near the train station. No one stays awake to keep watch. It would be a big mistake.
Nos sentimos cuando llegó la policía. Con la pistola ahí. No, si se mueva, puto, dice. nos llevaron para la oficina.
At first glance, it could be a bus station. In fact, it's a deportation center in southern Mexico. Just a few days ago, these young people from Honduras and elsewhere in Central America were riding the rails north towards the American border in their dream of a prosperous new life. They outran the police, at least for a while. Then their luck ran out. Now they're headed back home to one of the poorest places in the Western Hemisphere.
Well, in Honduras, the poverty is just so incredibly grinding. Mothers talk about feeding their children sugar water for dinner. They make $900 a year on average, and people are willing to do a lot to leave that kind of poverty. They're willing to risk a lot. They're willing to risk their lives.
Sonia Nazario of the Los Angeles Times is a Pulitzer Prize winner who's written about the epic journey to El Norte that 250,000 people attempt each year.
It is the heart of darkness. They are robbed repeatedly. They are beaten up. Women and girls often are raped, gang raped by bandits and gangsters. They don't want to go back defeated to their home country. In some cases, they've taken out small loans or gathered the few dollars to be the one hope, the one person heading north.
And it's not just teenagers, but children as young as 7. These kids from Honduras were traveling north on their own.
¿Y a dónde pretendes llegar?
Nueva York.
¿Por qué Nueva York?
Con mi mamá, porque con mi papá no me gusta vivir.
¿No tienes miedo de que te pase algún accidente en el ferrocarril?
No, no he pensado en eso. No lo pensaba cuando me subía porque me gustaba.
¿Te gusta la aventura?
Sí.
Call it determination or desperation. This is the 4th time this little girl has been caught and sent back. This bus is just about to leave for Honduras with another load of unlucky deportees. Thousands of young migrants are arrested in southern Mexico every week. Honduran journalist Jorge Flores discovered that most will keep on trying until they succeed. This boy had made it all the way to Mexico City before he was caught.
¿Cuántos años dijo que tiene?
14.
¿Y este?
Honduras.
¿Cómo lo agarraron?
Estaba sentado en el parque.
¿Cuántos van a volver a tratar?
Todos.
The Mexican authorities insist every illegal who's arrested will be deported. But the reality is that any migrant with a little money can usually bribe their way out of jail and off that bus. But when the Mexican police finally caught up with Quique and his pals, they'd already been robbed by the gangs. They had no money left for food or bribes. Not a single peso to persuade the police not to ship them back home.
Ellos nos iban a mandar para atrás, pero nosotros no queríamos y le insistimos.
But then, a twist of fate, a young boy in the same cell had hidden a small amount of cash.
El morrito, el que tenía 14 años, le dio como 100 pesos que andaba.
Only about $10, but enough for the police.
Dieron unos mangos ahí, una soda, y dieron pastillas.
Then, remarkably, the police dropped them off at the train station.
Y nos dejaron ir, nos pararon en el tren.
Quique and his friends had expected to be on their way back to Honduras. Instead, they've now got some food and medicine, and they're back on the road to El Norte. As they head north from Mexico City, the trains are moving faster, and there are fewer migrants riding on the freight cars. The U.S.-inspired crackdown on illegals is taking its toll. By some accounts, 95% of the migrants are now being arrested before they reach the American border. So every day they survive is a small victory. Kike and the others have covered almost 4,000 kilometers since leaving home 3 weeks ago. But today, something is very wrong. There are only 3 of them, Kike, Danielle, and Hébert. Somewhere back down the track, Chacon, the father of 6 kids, is missing. They were all rushing to hop onto the last train as it pulled away. Chacon was just a few seconds too late.
Estábamos esperando el tren una vuelta, pensábamos que iba a pasar despacio. Entonces, venía corto el tren, no traía muchos vagones. Sí, venía a una velocidad que lo podíamos agarrar, pero que había que correr bastante. Iba corriendo lo más que pudiera. Lo agarré yo y ya se había subido aquel también. Chacón, aquel jodido, se quedó atrás y me dije, ¿qué onda? Dale ganas, ya te esperamos arriba, le dije.
The town of Villa de Reyes in northern Mexico is a turning point. They're now within striking distance of the American border, but to get across that well-defended frontier, they'll need more than luck. They'll need professional help.
As the border has become more tightly sealed by the U.S. Border Patrol, the necessity of having a smuggler has become more and more. And so many migrants will call a relative in the United States, hoping that that relative, they'll be able to tell them, well, I've made it all this way, surely you can somehow scrounge together the $2,000 that it takes, $1,500 that it takes to get me into Texas or to get me into California.
The people smugglers here are known as coyotes. And in Villa de Reyes, there's no shortage of them. The problem is how much they cost. Kike and his friends are doing odd jobs to earn some money for room and board. The rest of the time is spent on the telephone, calling their relatives in El Norte, pleading for money to hire a coyote.
No podemos irnos a arriesgar solo a caer. Es por eso que tienen que mandarlos a alguien a traerlos, que sepa cómo está todo.
But after dozens of phone calls, all they've got are excuses.
De aquí no nos movemos mientras no nos manden a recoger. Porque realmente no sabemos cómo está la cuestión adelante.
No one, it seems, is willing to lend them $2,000. And in Vancouver, things were looking bleak for Edwin Rodales. The young man who made the incredible journey from Honduras to Canada when he was just 17 was about to be deported. His application for refugee status was turned down. Economic refugees, especially kids from Central America looking for the promised land, have a hard case to make. The last-ditch appeal filed by his lawyer, Emma Andrews, was only the faintest hope. So Edwin prepared for the worst. To be so close to his dream and lose it would be a very bitter blow. Edwin's teacher, Carl Machado.
This was a really desperate moment in his life when he was going to be deported and all of his connections were going to be severed. And he had to face the darkest night he's ever had.
"3 years I struggled, and now, I think I'm ready to be a Canadian. So, it makes me feel really bad."
But they weren't giving up back in Nelson, BC, where Edwin had put down such strong roots. Just days from his deportation, his high school classmates were becoming a potent political force, holding rallies, signing petitions.
They're signing in support of Edwin's immigration claim to stay here.
Doing everything they could to publicize and plead Edwin's case.
We've raised a lot of money for Edwin. We're trying to get the press involved. Everyone's writing letters to our member of parliament.
And behind the scenes, that special French teacher Nancy Pulsifer, who'd unofficially adopted Edwin when he first arrived.
The community has proven that we're willing to sponsor him, that he will not be a burden to society. He can live with me for free. We've had signatures from Northern Ontario, from Ottawa, from the Kootenay area. People want him here.
Edwin's supporters argued that to send him back to Honduras would put him at risk. In fact, the neighborhood here in Tegucigalpa, where he grew up, is considered so dangerous. We were told to have an armed guard with us at all times. Edwin's family, his mother, brothers, and sister, still live in the same house. They haven't seen him since the day he left home for El Norte to make a better life for all of them than he could ever hope for here.
Chicken. La carne de chicken. Fish.
Yo, la verdad de las cosas que yo no podía ni ponerlo a estudiar aquí porque soy pobre y no es justo con el dinero, pues.
Brother in the Laos.
Y yo le doy gracias a Dios, ¿verdad? Ya que él me hace falta, pero él está allá. Le doy gracias a Dios porque él se siente feliz, ¿verdad? Y yo miro cuando él me manda una foto, ¿verdad? Y los compañeros se sienten bien gozosos y lo quieren mucho.
But as much as she longs to see her son again, she prays that somehow he'll be allowed to stay in Canada. Back in Villa de Reyes, Mexico, Kike's prayers have finally been answered. After 3 weeks of begging and pleading, the relatives have agreed to put up the money for the professional smuggler. The coyote will get the cash when they're safely delivered on U.S. soil. But there's a hitch, a big one. Danielle won't be going with them. After coming all this way and all they've overcome together, he couldn't raise the money. They'll go on without him.
Salimos desde la colonia donde vivimos los cuatro. Ya te sentí como un hermano porque ya venís conviviendo de todo. Dejar a otro amigo allá botado. Siente mal dejarlo botado.
Now there are just two of them, Kike and his best friend Hébert. For $2,000 each, the coyote will smuggle them across the border into the U.S., then drive them farther north in Texas by truck. They will put their lives in the hands of a total stranger. When it made the headlines last summer, it was one of the most horrific cases of human smuggling anyone had ever heard of. A coyote had managed to jam almost 100 migrants into an 18-wheeler. At $2,000 a head, he stood to make almost $250,000 from a single haul. Just before midnight, the truck slowed down for an inspection station. The U.S. Border Patrol has permanent checkpoints on all the highways leading north from the Mexican border. The driver said he was running empty, headed to Houston. He was waved through without a search. Everything going according to plan. But inside the truck, it was a different story. Locked in with no way out and no ventilation, the human cargo was slowly running out of air.
uno no mira nada, totalmente oscuro. Gente que venía vomitando, gente pidiendo ayuda, diciendo auxilio, ayúdenme. Y tuve que acostar encima de otra persona, no sabía si en realidad estaba muerta o estaba viva. Voy a vivir, voy a morir.
The driver never heard the screams and kept on going. The next day, it was the lead story everywhere.
Unit 5, this is Chopper 2. See, there's one, and then there's two others on this side.
These were not gentle deaths. These were a very panicked, very horrifying way to die in total darkness, in astounding heat.
Called the deadliest case of human smuggling in U.S. history. 19 died, including a 5-year-old boy. One of the survivors was Matias Flores from Honduras, who said the coyote had simply abandoned them.
Que deben de desconfiar en todo momento de ellos. Ellos le mienten a uno. No le dicen a uno el riesgo que pueda tener. Ellos lo hacen como vender algo, comercializar con uno mismo.
That tragedy took place just days before Quique and his friends began their journey to El Norte, but they never considered changing their minds.
Pues sí, daba un poco de miedo ver las noticias. Yo sabía, como que Dios me decía que iba a estar bien. Costara lo que costara, pero sí.
Next stop, Fortress America. $1 billion worth of high-tech surveillance equipment is arrayed along this border to stop them. The U.S. Border Patrol seems to be everywhere, so they'll wait until nightfall to cross. Rick Aguirre is the officer in charge here where the Rio Grande is the border. He's a man the coyotes are well advised to avoid.
They have no conscience at all. They think money. That's the only thing on a smuggler's mind. Their whole mindset is to get them from the border to the interior United States, whatever it takes. If that means walking 15 miles off a paved roadway, he will do it. Somebody dies, it's the price of doing business.
It's the moment Quique and Hébert have been waiting for. Their coyote seems to have everything under control. There are 11 people in their group. At 1 a.m., they start across the river. But there's no celebration as they set foot in El Norte for the first time. The truck that's supposed to pick them up on the American side is nowhere to be seen. Now they're on foot, frantically trying to avoid the checkpoints that control the highways running north. And it's about to get worse. The coyote's cell phone battery dies. They have no communications, but the coyote won't turn back. At $2,000 a head, there's too much money at stake. With the sun about to come up, they head north into the Texas desert.
Everything here in South Texas bites. Cactus everywhere. You have scorpions, snakes, tarantulas, 100, 101, 102 degree temperatures. Whatever water you have, take it with you, because there is no water out there. As of today, we have 38 deaths here just for our sector.
So what lies ahead for Quique and Hébert? Another miracle? Or a death march? At long last, it seems, their luck may be running out. Back in British Columbia, the odds were also stacked against Edwin Radalis, when his luck began to change, if only for now. a Canadian appeals court put a temporary hold on his deportation.
That's great. Congratulations.
Home again. It was just until he finished the school year. He could very well be deported after that. But on this night, it was all they could hope for here in Nelson.
It's a bit emotional, actually. We're thrilled, we're excited, and he has to be in class tomorrow afternoon. That's it.
In southern Texas, 3 days have gone by since Kike and Hebert followed their coyote into the scorching desert with a dead cell phone. For 3 days, Jorge Flores has been waiting for news, good or bad. It's Hebert.
Uy, hombre, compa, casi lo morimos, compadre.
¿Cómo?
Estuvimos 3 días sin comer, compa. 2 mujeres, una que venía embarazada ya no podía. Nosotros ya le íbamos a decir que joderle la comida, nosotros ya no aguantábamos, pues.
Claro.
Lo íbamos a entregar a migración ya, compa. El coyote no nos dice que llevemos comida, compa, y no llevamos nada, pero ni un bocado de comida, compadre. Panzón, puta, le hizo una trastada.
The coyote had got them hopelessly lost until another amazing stroke of luck.
They found a hunter's lodge. So they found bread, mayonnaise, honey. And he says that they were eating ketchup for like a day and a half. That's where they charged the cell phone, and the pickup truck came for them.
In Fort Worth, Texas, the two friends say their goodbyes. Hebert leaves for Virginia with the relatives who lent him the money for the coyote. All that remains for Kike is to wait in a safe house until his Uncle Julio arrives from North Carolina with the cash to pay the coyote for him. But then, another phone call.
Sí, buenas, Danira.
It's Uncle Julio's wife.
¿Cómo está la situación ahí con la ida a traer de Kike?
Faltan los $1,000.
1,000.
Ajá.
Entonces le va a salir más de $2,000 todo a Kike.
Ajá, sí. Sí. Pero el coyote dice que mientras no le den la clave no les entrega a Kike. Y dice que anda armado ese coyote.
¿Anda armado?
Ajá, dice que anda con una pistola. Y salió pues y se lo volvió a llevar a Kike.
Ay, Dios mío.
It's almost unbelievable. After all he's already survived, now Kike's a hostage. And what will happen if the money isn't paid?
¿Para atrás a dónde? Para México.
In Nelson, British Columbia, the moment of truth had arrived for Edwin Rodales.
We're putting that file together, and then...
One thick file.
One thick file, isn't it?
This letter from Ottawa would decide the rest of his life. Could he stay in Canada, or would he have to go?
Dear Mr. Rodales, on June 11, 2003, a representative of the Minister of Citizenship and Immigration approved your request for an exception from these requirements.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
It's basically saying, just to make sure.
It doesn't.
Your exemption was granted in part due to the hardship you would face if you had to leave Canada and apply from outside of the country as usually required.
So congratulations! I gotta give you a hug for this.
Thank you. It's been a long process, it's been a long way. It's gotta be something good.
He had missed a month of schoolwork fighting deportation. But when Edwin returned to class, he didn't miss a beat. He graduated from L.V. Rogers High School with distinction. His next goal, college.
It's just a simple kid with a simple life. All of a sudden, everybody knows me. They respect me and support me and show that they care about me. I feel grateful. You know, that was my goal, just to be able to show them that I really want to be here. Just to show them that I really want to be part of their society.
And in Texas, there's big news too. It's Kike's Uncle Julio. Somehow, Kike has managed to escape from the coyote. Now he's in hiding. Julio wants to meet with us as soon as possible.
¿Dónde se siente usted cómodo? ¿Dónde usted sabe que podemos reunir?
Es que para reunirnos, digamos, a las 7 en un lugar seguro, un lugar donde ustedes puedan llegar y donde nosotros también podamos llegar.
We try not to think what might happen if the coyote finds Kike first. We're given instructions to a suburban parking lot. And suddenly, there's Kike.
Ajá, mano.
Kike.
¿Qué onda?
Todo tranquilo.
He's lost a few pounds in the desert and gained an earring, but he's alive and well. It was the great escape. Kike waited until the coyote was distracted, then grabbed the coyote's cell phone and took off running.
¿No crees que me podía zafar de ese vato, de ese coyote?
He has been on the road for 54 days. He's been robbed, talked his way out of a Mexican jail, almost died in the desert. It took nearly 2 months, but tonight the road to El Norte must seem a lot longer than that. Tonight, it's not only a celebration, but also a reunion. 7 years ago, at just 15, Kike set out for El Norte the first time. He was caught and sent back. But his traveling companion was able to cross the border and start a new life. That man was his Uncle Julio. Now, Julio has found him a construction job that will start in just 2 days. It's estimated there may be 9 million illegal immigrants like Kike in the U.S. and Canada. Economic refugees who've come to work and live under the radar and outside the law.
So here you are now, where you've always wanted to be, in the U.S., but you're an illegal immigrant. Is there not the possibility that you'll still feel like you're on the run, that you'll always be looking over your shoulder?
No, ya no voy a estar viendo eso. Yo pienso que no es necesario estar viendo eso. Muchos han vivido muchos años aquí y nunca les ha pasado nada. Pienso que no pasa nada aquí. Hacer mi casa, para que vivamos con la familia y poner un negocio para trabajar tranquilo. Y ya jamás volver a venir aquí, porque es bien arriesgado venir aquí.
Back in Honduras, news of Kike's arrival in El Norte is cause for celebration. He's going to send home $100 a month, a small fortune here. Kike plans to return in about 3 years with enough money to buy a house, maybe a store.
Si algunas cosas de las que firmamos allá, pues las podría tener y enseñárselas a él. Le explicaría yo de que mi sueldo no alcanzaba para darle las cosas a él, o sea, eran poquitos.
But his little boy, 3-year-old Angel, will have done a lot of growing up before his father gets back.
Adiós, papá. Hágale.
This was a journey fraught with peril from one end to the other. Why did you agree to take the camera along?
O sea, sí, acepté todo esto yo para que realmente la gente, mucha gente sepa de lo que uno sufre en el camino. De algo real que pasa en el camino. Que miren la realidad de lo que uno sufre en ese camino. No es rentable, o sea, viajar para acá porque muchos fracasan, muchos mueren.